بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين فارغ الخلائق أجمعين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله وحبيبه أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله والله التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. That's not a good response, man. It's coming from the heart. Feel y'all, all y'all. Let's do this again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Right now we are at a particular point in history. A very important point in history. I want you guys to remember this, to know this. We are at a changing point in history. You know, you have people around who say, I am British, or I'm a white American, and I should not be blamed for what my ancestors did to you. They did that, that's them, it's not on me. Now, today we realize what they mean or what they don't mean. Because if they lived in the time of colonialism and slavery, what they would have done then, thank you very much, what they would have done then is what exactly they're doing now. Okay? Meaning that, that some of them see the truth, see the errors of the ways of their governments, and they stand up to it. So you find that, for example, in Britain during the time of slavery, you had abolitionist movements taking place among British people, for example. You had these abolitionist movements. You know, one of my favorite white guys in history is John Brown. You got anybody know about John Brown? Put your hand up if you know about John Brown. 4 or 5 people know John Brown. Oh yeah, okay. 5 or 6 people know John Brown. John Brown was a white man in the time of slavery in America, and he hated slavery. And what John Brown did was actually organize a slave revolution, a slave revolt. Okay? He wasn't successful. He was defeated in it, and he was hanged. But the position of John Brown and what he did represents all those revolutionary white people out there who are standing with us, who are willing to turn their backs on the defective culture of that society and try to make a change. So now we are at this cusp. And so what we need to be doing, we need to be thinking about right now is the establishment of institutions, the establishment of movements, the organization of our communities and so forth to activate ourselves to be much more involved and much more effective in trying to change a worldview, in trying to change a world system. And you might think you're just one individual, but you're not, okay? You are special. And us special people have to get together and form a new reality. And what I'd like to talk about briefly is part of the, to apply to this, is part of the letter Imam Hussein alayhi salam wrote to his brother, his half-brother, Muhammad Hanafiya, where he says in that letter, أريد أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر وأسير بسيرة الجد وسيرة أبي علي بن أبي طالب عليه السلام. He says, I want to establish, he says, I would like to commend the right and forbid the wrong and practice the sunnah of my grandfather and the seerah of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And I'd like to talk about sunnah, okay? Because he said he wants to establish the sunnah or the seerah of the Holy Prophet and Imam Ali alayhi salam. And when he's talking about this, I'd like to sort of expand a little bit on this whole idea, all right, of establishing a sunnah. Now, the word sunnah comes from the verb sanna, which means to institute as a custom or practice. So this is the active meaning of sunnah, okay? Take it up, just extract it from just applying to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to universalize this idea. And I'll give you an example of us establishing a sunnah. Let's say, for example, you're a parent and you watch a lot of TV, right? With kids around you watch a lot of TV. Guess how? So you establish a sunnah right there. Guess what's going to happen with your kid? Your kid is going to have a very close attachment to TV and watch TV as much as you. If you grow up in a house where your mom and your dad are fighting all the time, all right? Guess what you're going to do? You're going to have some problems with your spouse in the future because of that sunnah that the parent established. All right? If you, for example, are among the oppressed and you establish a way by your example of how to resist oppression, other people seeing you, they will follow that as well. So people in society tend to do this. They tend to follow each other. They tend to be influenced by each other's behaviors. Good behaviors and bad behaviors. And, you have a statement by the Holy Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The Holy Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, says, whoever establishes a good sunnah that people follow even after him, he will get his own reward for it, as well as the like of their reward for performing it without any decrease in the reward. In other words, you set up a sunnah, you start a sunnah, people see as a type of a constant behavior from you, they implement that, they follow that, and so forth. For you establishing this, you get a reward. And every time they practice that sunnah that you established, then you get a reward. So you get up in the morning, you wake up your kids, you lead them in prayer, okay? Because you do this, Allah is going to reward you. When they get married and have their kids, they do the same thing because I saw my dad and my mom doing it. You will get a reward for that too from them. And he continues. He says, and whoever establishes an evil sunnah that is followed by people after him, he will be responsible for the burden of their sins without any decrease in their burdens thereof. In other words, if you set up an evil sunnah, you have to account to Allah for it, you'll be punished for it. And every time they do that sunnah, every time they behave that way that they learn from you, you will get a punishment for it. So here the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, yes, you follow my sunnah. His sunnah is the most exalted sunnah. Okay? However, there are other aspects of your behaviors and so forth that you could institute in that environment. For example, if everybody, every time they meet a Muslim, and they know that that Muslim is a person who is kind to everybody, they might be attracted to Islam, they might become a Muslim, and they will behave like you. They will try to be nice to everybody. Okay? If they're brave, you would want to be brave too. You see? When you become a Muslim, you want to be brave too. Or, even if you are a Muslim, and you're looking for some kind of encouragement, some kind of new way of looking at things and so forth, and you show them that, they too will gravitate to that, will pick that up, and will carry that on. So, if we look at sunnah, if we think of a sunnah as a kind of a behavior, we would realize that sunnah is really the active principle of culture. Okay, because what is culture? culture is the collective way that people behave in a certain, in different environments or in different situations. That is culture. Okay? Now, culture is also educated by your belief system. Okay? What do you think is right? What do you think is wrong? You know, your way of looking at the universe and so forth. It's influenced by your belief system. And your belief system has an effect upon your relationships to your environment. And if that belief system is congruent enough, if that belief system is real enough, has a realistic way of looking at the world in a positive sense, you would find that that belief system will encourage you to always be acting in a particular way. Now, in this way, then, we can say that culture is defined as the outward practice as conditional or generated by a belief system. One of the advantages that Muslims have compared to other systems is that our system is internally congruent with all aspects of itself. And so, in that complete picture, that complete package, when you present it to people, people could, those people who have a good heart and who can think, these people will follow that sunnah. And so, you know, we have, for example, in Islamic history, cases of a bad sunnah, for example, killing young girls, baby girls. That was a sunnah, you know. That in fact originated sometime, a long time before the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where I can't remember the name of the person, but one man thought that, okay, because we are fighting each other all the time and they capture our women and so forth, and this is a disgrace to us. Okay, then he started to kill his baby girls. Okay, and other people followed him because they were thinking along the same lines. I don't want to lose my honor with my daughters or, you know, my granddaughters or so on being captured by somebody else, and it's best to take their lives. And it became popular. So you have a negative sunnah existing at that time. We also have a positive sunnah. We have Hatem Atai, right? Hatem Atai is the person who popularized in Arab culture, Arab generosity and nobility, okay? Helping people and so forth, okay? And Hatem Atai, nobody said he was a Muslim, okay? Nobody said he was a Muslim. And he is the person who actually created that whole cultural identification mark for people in the middle, in West Asia. Stop calling it Middle East now. You know that, right? We don't call it Middle East anymore. Right? Because the Middle East is from the Western point of view. And it became popularized. Okay? So we have that experience in ourselves. Now sometimes what happens is, and this happens to us as Muslims, what happens is sometimes your belief system is not congruent with your behavior. So we live in a Western world where tolerated or accepted behaviors, many of them are discordant with Islamic belief. What happens is that belief, the belief that you have, becomes weakened. And they call this cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. A dissonance between what you believe in and how you act. And so there's a very interesting experiment they did in psychology about this. They paid students to get up in front of a class and defend something that they did not believe in. Okay? So they would make a presentation about why they believed in this particular thing. And then people would challenge them and they have to defend that thing that they did not believe in. Okay, so they're behaving in a manner that it is discordant with their belief. What they found after that experiment are those people who had participated in it, their, how should I say, confidence their commitment to what they believed in was much weaker after that experiment than before. And so we Muslims are in this environment all the time. You see? And so you find many of us tending to think like the oppressive system, and even try to reinterpret Islam in accordance with that oppressive system. And many of us, accept this. Many of us believe that Western science is the most advanced, and there's only one kind of science. Many of us, adopt particular cultural practices in the West. Okay, from toilet practices to how they dress and how they speak and so forth and so on. All of this is taking place because of cognitive dissonance. So what we need to do is to establish a kind of a sunnah in our behaviors, whether it be on an organizational basis, how we organize, how we deal with outside forces and so forth. We have to develop a sunnah for this. Okay? And one of them is the way we raise our children. Okay? We raise our children not only in terms of written learning, but also learning in practice. Some of the things that I think it is very important for us to establish are things like, for example, hijab. Okay? And not just hijab in terms of a passive wearing of it, hijab in terms of an active wearing of it. In other words, when you wear hijab, sisters, and you go out there, people are going to challenge you. People are going to challenge you. And how you respond to that challenge has a very profound effect upon the position of that other person. I want to give you an example. I have a friend, a very good friend. His name is Gareth. I wouldn't mention his last name because he might get too famous. And Gareth told me about how he became a Muslim, right? And he said, he was an atheist. And he was very confident in his atheism. He was confident in his atheism because, when he challenged Christians and so forth, Christians would go running. They couldn't stand up to the argument. And when he came to Muslims, he said, the Muslim woman, he'd say something, are you a Muslim? And she'd say, yeah. And so what's it to you? His attitude, confidence, right? What do you want to know? And he'd ask a question, and they'd give him a straight up answer. And he was impressed by that, okay? Because that's their sunnah, you see? It influenced him very much. Because the Christians, on the other hand, could not defend themselves, but the Muslims could. Okay? And the Muslims could. This began by this attitude. I'm not afraid of you. I can answer anything you ask me. You see? And he became a Muslim. Okay? So, that type of a sunnah has to do with where these sisters were taught, and who taught them, and who inspired them with that kind of confidence. And we have to train our youth to be like that. We have to train them to be leaders in their environment. You have to train them to be leaders in high school. You have to train them to be leaders in university. You have to train them to be leaders in their workplace. You have to train them to be leaders in our society. Why are all these people embracing Islam? These non-Muslim women are embracing Islam, especially non-Muslim women, because they see the sunnah of these Muslim women in Palestine, how they are dealing with loss, how they are dealing with disaster, how they are dealing with torture, how they are dealing with living day to day in the face of death. And they see this and they want to be part of that. Remember, our sunnah is a human sunnah. Our sunnah is something that affects the soul of people. Now, when we want to represent the sunnah of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when we want to influence the sunnah of the other people, and we have this particular sunnah, what happens is people see this beauty, and they gravitate towards it. I think if you guys had looked at the World Cup last year, I believe it was, how when they all went to Qatar, You know, and in Qatar, they couldn't drink alcohol and go on the street. They couldn't. The only place that they could drink alcohol was in a hotel. You find a lot of people went on the street celebrating their teams and so forth, and people came back and said, you know, I thought that I could never have fun without alcohol. I thought I could never go to a football match in a pub and not get drunk. You see? I mean, they come out and they're drunk and they riot and they break things and so on. But in Qatar, they didn't see any of that. Okay? The other thing is their experience in the bathroom with the hose. You know? Right? After experiencing this, they're not going back. They go to England and like, we don't have this. I want to put this in here. See what I mean? This is Sunnah. It's a beautiful thing. You know? And you found a lot of people that embrace Islam in Qatar itself because of their exposure to the Islamic way of life. This is another thing we need to do. We need to bring people into our environment, into our circles. Okay? So next time, the next year that you have a program like this, each one of you, try to invite somebody who you are friends with in the non-Muslim world. Okay? Just make sure you have me here. Try to bring them here. Because within a particular social environment, the reality of your belief system, the reality of your presence becomes much more powerful than in a diluted environment outside. I remember when I was doing tabligh in Toronto years ago, we'd have discussion groups in our homes and we'd tell people to bring somebody, okay? And the people who attended, they did bring people, okay? And sometimes, for example, we'd be on the floor sitting in a circle, the women behind, the men in the front, okay? And somebody brings somebody to the gathering, and this woman is wearing a short skirt. As she comes in the living room, I see everybody's on the floor. Big problem. Big problem. Then my wife would come out and bring a sheet or something like that. And this is their first lesson in hijab. They feel relaxed and comfortable. Okay? Now they have this sheet over them. You don't have to talk about hijab. They feel it in that environment. You see? So we need to be able to bring people in our environment. We are here to spread Islam, We are here for people to hear the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are here to show them Islam in practice. And the only way they can see Islam in practice, they can see it from you as an individual, but it's best when they see all of us together. And they're with us. And we show them love, and we show them respect, and so forth. And we treat them well. In our masajid, it's not like that. In our masajid, you bring a stranger, people look at that person, and you're right there sitting next to them, Okay? I've seen this. They don't tell you nothing, right? But they look at the person across from you and say, who is that? Who that? Okay? And so people felt very, very, they didn't feel welcome. I've gone to some churches, okay? I've gone to a couple of churches, we had conferences or whatever there were, I had to give a speech in front of a church or whatever. And the very interesting thing about these churches is that the priest or the minister or the pastor, he stands outside the door on that Sunday and greets everybody coming in. So here am I walking in, right? I got my amama and my kaba and all this type of stuff, and my wife is with me in hijab and so forth. Pleased to meet you. Come on in. See what I'm saying? All right? One of the things that I do, in our gatherings in London, when people bring a stranger to the gathering, and I'm giving a speech or whatever, they're looking at me as somebody special, right? They're looking at me as, I don't know, the big guy, the priest or whatever they might be seeing. One of the things I do is after I come off the member or wherever I might be, I walk straight to them. Hey, how are you doing? I never saw you here before. And I make them feel comfortable, okay? Because this is the Islamic way. This is the Islamic way of of being a host to somebody. You see a stranger in your midst, okay? You might see somebody who comes in here without hijab and they're looking like, the stranger or whatnot. You go sit next to them, hi, how you doing? Give them a smile and make them feel comfortable. All of these types of things are really sort of soft ways to bring people into Islam. A lot of us think that, to bring somebody in Islam, you need to know the Bible, and you need to start talking intellectually about how God is one and not more than one and stuff like that. And we get this idea that you can always make somebody a Muslim, make them a Muslim by just using logic on them. A lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people think emotionally. All right? A lot of people become Muslim because they like something about how we behave. A lot of the people I brought into Islam after I brought them into these gatherings, and they become Muslim, I asked them, what made you decide? I'm expecting them to say, well, there was something that you said that something so profound and to make my ego feel good. And usually what they say is, I liked how you brothers hugged each other and kissed each other. We don't have this in our society. I like how it is that, a lot of you guys are young people. In the days I was in my 20s and so on. Or young people and you have families. These are some of the things that they are impressed upon. Okay? Not everybody embraces Islam because of some intellectual awakening that, oh yes, Tawheed is true. No. Okay? I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying you can't engage in a kind of a discussion like that. Okay? But a lot of it has to do with relationships with people. Okay? You want to do tabligh with somebody? Establish a relationship with them. Okay? A friendly relationship. An intellectual relationship. Some kind of good relationship. And especially if you do something good for them, that opens them up to you. Give salawat to the Holy Prophet Muhammad and his family.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
All right, I don't want to continue too long. I just want to give this little point to you. What I'd like to conclude with, and then we open it for discussion, is we want to conclude with talking about the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And so, Imam Hussein has nobody left. Okay? Abbas is gone. All of the fighting males of his family are gone. All of his companions are gone. His little baby, Ali Asghar, the baby is about 6 months old. 3 days, all of them were deprived of water. Imam Hussein alayhi salam sees Ali Asghar's mouth as very dry. So he says, you know what? I'm going to take him out and show him to the people, to the armies, and see if they can give him some water. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam wraps Ali Asghar in a cloth, and he comes out in front of the people and he raises Ali Asghar in the air. And they are wondering, what does he have in this package, in this wrapping? They think that maybe he's going to bring out Quran for the Quran to sort of argue for his behalf. And then he says to them, this is my son, Ali Asghar. He didn't do anything to you. I'm the one you want. I'm the one you want to kill. Why don't you give this little baby some water? He says, I'm going to put the baby down on the sand, and move away for you to give him some water. What was the response of the army? The army started to dissent between each other. They started to argue between each other. Some are saying, yes, he's only a little kid, give this child some water. Others are saying, no, you shouldn't. Omar Saad screams out to the soldiers, silence Hussein's argument. And so he calls for Karbala. Karbala is one of the soldiers, and he was an archer, to shoot at that baby. He fired the first shot, and the shot fell short. And the reason why it fell short is because he saw a woman standing far away, and he thought that this is the child's mother, and it threw him off. Imam Hussein immediately picked up the child because he knew that child was in danger. Then Hormala fires another arrow, And the account says it's a three-pointed arrow. Three-pointed arrows, one arrow does a bit of damage. Three-pointed arrow is like firing a buckshot at somebody. And the arrow penetrated the child's neck and went into the arm of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Ali Asghar smiled. Ali Asghar smiled when he got killed. The blood flowed from Ali Asghar into the hands of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and they said he threw the blood into the sky, and it didn't fall back down. And so he smeared the blood on his face. And he took the child back to the tents. And it was the only person that Imam Hussein alayhi salam dug a grave for. All of the others he didn't. They were all in a kind of a tent that functioned as a kind of a morgue. But this baby, he dug a grave and put the baby in. Later on, we realized why. Because after they had killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and they had cut off all the heads of all the people who were on the battlefield, the cry came out, there's one head missing. There's one head missing. And that's the head of Ali Asghar. And the soldiers went around poking in the sand to find out where that grave was. And they found the grave and they decapitated that little 6-month-old child. That was a level of barbarity that these people had. And so now Imam Hussein has nobody. He's surrounded now by the enemy. He engages in one-to-one combat. He defeats all of them until Omar Saad said, do you know who you're fighting? You're fighting the son of Ali. Stop this. Circle him and take him out. And so they circled him, and he was surrounded by archers. I think there's something like 4,000 archers, and 20,000 foot soldiers. All of them around this man. And they attacked him so much so that his body was riddled with arrows. With the loss of blood, Imam Hussein alayhi salam could not remain on his horse. He fell off his horse with all those arrows sticking out of him. He fell off the horse. He landed on these arrows, and these arrows went even deeper into him. Because, when you're falling, you put your hand out to break your fall. You put your hand out to break your fall. You see? And you try to avoid falling to injure yourself. But being so riddled with arrows, he could not do anything, and it hurt him even more. So here's Imam Hussein alayhi salam now sitting on the ground. He's tired. He has no water. He asks for water, nobody brings it to him. But none of the men, very few of the men wanted to kill him, were afraid of killing him, because they knew that he was the son of Hazrat Fatima Zahra salam alayhi. They knew that he was the grandson of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. And so Omar said to them, and Shimr also said to them, go ahead and do the job. So one soldier comes up to Imam Hussein, and he said, I'm not going to give you any water. You are going to go to hell without water. A'udhu billah. Imam Hussein responded, no, you are the one who's going to go to hell without water. You are the one who's going to be punished. And what happened was, it is said in many of these accounts that the spirit, the state of these people changed into cruel, vicious people. And so they rushed him, and Shimr sat on his chest and sawed off the neck of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Sawed it off. They said that he did something like 12 blows, 12 cuts on the neck of Imam Hussein alayhi salam before he died. This is the death of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. وَاللَّهِ الَّتِي حَلَّتْ بِفِنَائِكَ عَلَيْكَ مِنِّي سَلَامُ اللَّهِ أَبَدًا مَا بَقِيتُ وَبَقِيَ اللَّيْلُ وَالنَّهَارُ السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلي محمد.
Okay, so we could take some questions now, or comments even, or even additions, something you'd like to say or share, it's fine. Yeah.
I want to be compact.
We got a microphone here?
I don't know if it's working.
Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I want to be precise. I want to be compact. There is a hadith in Islam. A person who dies without knowing the Imam of the age, they die a death of ignorance. Having said that, we are honoring Imam Hussein alayhi salam. If we were in the time of Imam Hussein, the righteous position would be we hear and we obey. Moving forward, there are Imams after Imam Hussein, which bring us to Imam Mahdi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He is our present Imam. That hear and obey stands with him. The people of the world are not stupid. If we bring certain things to them, they're going to ask us, who are you following, bro? Because you can't be getting it from yourself. So we have to be saying now, we have to be on the hut. First of all, our Imam is Imam Mahdi, our living Imam. Not that when he reappear, he is Imam now. So he's in charge. Another thing, Imam Mahdi gave a dictate in his absence who we should be following. Everything is meticulous. It's not haphazard or anything like that. Haphazardness misleads people. Islam is the haq. So Imam Mahdi said in his absence, the mutakin alim are the people that we have to follow. That same, almost that same system of hear and obey, when it comes to that, it is invested in some of them, and it leads us right to the position of Valiyat Faqih. If somebody asks me,
don't make a speech now, you know. I mean, I'm the only person to make a speech here, Bob.
All right, okay, no, understand. So if somebody asks me, no, I'm not being sophisticated or diabolic. Everybody have to answer. Somebody asks me, who is my Imam in this world today? Who am I following? It will be Imam Khamenei, my Valiyat Faqih. And that's all, because everybody here who is a Shia, they already give taqlid. So they're following somebody.
Okay, thank you. I want to say something about this, a little bit, okay? About following our Imam, okay? Because I think what is implied here in what you're saying is that anybody who does not follow our Imams are in trouble, okay? All right, but we do know. Turn it off. So first of all, okay, when we look at the lives of, for example, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, okay, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam had devoted students. Not all of them were Shia, okay? Some of them were Sunni, like Abu Hanifa, like Malik, okay? A lot of them were Sunni. He taught all of them. This indicates something, okay? Following an Imam is not necessarily being able to acknowledge a particular person as Imam. Okay? You could follow somebody by just following them. You know, I could be standing here as a Shia, And there's a Sunni alim there who I agree is more knowledgeable than me, okay? Who might be more knowledgeable than a lot of the Shia ulama that I have in my environment. I'm not saying this environment is like this. I'm just speculating a particular hypothetical environment. Like, for example, today. Today, a lot of our Shia leaders in this part of the world ain't worth much, bro. Okay? You say bro in America. You don't say brother, you say bro for first day and things like that. Okay? So it's a relationship. Okay? You have people, for example, Christians, who are born Christians, who are living Christians, but they're Muslims because of what they think. Right? They've not been exposed to Muslims. All right? But how they think, how they are, the kind of reading they do and stuff like that, they're very much like us. You see? So following somebody doesn't necessarily, is the important essence in terms of, acknowledging somebody as your leader or something like that. Look at our society here right now, okay? Who are our imams? Who are our imams? Right? Our imams are not just the imams of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Our imams are Justin Trudeau. Right? When they say you should pay your taxes so we can send it to Israel, what do? You follow him. You pay it. Okay? You know you're paying your taxes. You know your taxes are being taken out of your salary and stuff like that. Right? But you're following him. Following somebody does not mean necessarily agreeing to follow them. Okay? Like literally agreeing. Following somebody is exactly that. They want you to do something. You see them as an authority. All right? You do it. Even though you hate that person. Okay? The other thing is, somebody asked Imam Mahdi, may Allah hasten his return. They asked him, how can we follow you after you're gone? And he said what? I will be giving you guidance just like the sun gives guidance behind a cloud. Okay? You think this is only for us? No, it's not only for us. It's for all of us. It's for Shia and Sunni. Okay? The only thing is the Sunnis might not recognize himself as Imam because their approach is one that the Imam is yet to be born. Okay? But it does not mean to say that they are outside of that grace that the Imam is giving. The other thing I'd like to mention is when we say we follow the Imam, what do we mean? Okay? What do we mean? Look, there are two kinds of followers. Okay? You have one follower who's like a private in an army. Alright? They wait for instructions. They get the instructions, they carry out the instructions, and then they come back to their spot and say, mission accomplished, I'm waiting here for your other order. Okay? That's one type of follower. Okay? In other words, if that officer gets killed, and all their followers are the ones that are depending upon him only, okay? What happens? Everything falls apart. Then you have another type of follower, which I think is the best kind of follower. That follower is a representation of the leader himself. The qualities of the leader is reflected in the qualities of the follower. Okay? Just like we're talking about Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Do you think that just because we say Imam is our leader and we cry for him and stuff like that, it's enough? No, it's not. Okay? You have to be like him. Love is based upon affinity. Brave people like brave people. Cowardly people like cowardly people. Thieves like thieves. Just because we say we acknowledge the Imam and stuff like that, how many of us want to meet him so badly that anytime we see some kind of formula, some kind of amal or something like that, that is going to bring us close to the Imam, we will follow, we do it. Very few of us are Muslim. Very few of us are reformers in our society. The ones who make things better. Very, very few of us. And we can tell by looking at the communities that we are from. Okay? In a practical sense, they don't follow the Imam. Okay? A Hamas fighter who is not a Shia, is behaving more in conformity with following the Imam than a Shia in, I don't know, some part of Toronto, right, who is telling you, don't wear kafir on the march. You see what I mean? So I think we need to be able to be very clear about these types of things, and realize that our relationship with the Imam could be one that is conscious, that we are aware of his presence, or we are aware that he is like the sun behind a cloud who is giving guidance to all of us, and it all depends on how we respond to that particular guidance.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Any other questions?
Assalamualaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
This is too tough. Okay. Sorry. I've got a loud voice, so I can speak. So my question is a little bit convoluted, but I've been having a lot of issues recently with
Welcome to the club.
with certain speakers that our centers are inviting. And I recently came back from a conference over the weekend. Everyone, I think, knows about it. And it was a youth-led conference. And they spoke about the issue of Palestine. And they spoke about the hadith that you mentioned from the beginning of this lecture series till now, about whoever sees an evil action, you address it with your hands, if you cannot address it with your tongue, etc., etc. And when they spoke about Palestine, their view was very much, and bearing in mind they're speaking to an audience of 700 youths, their view was very much, this hadith says that, if you feel hatred for it in your heart, it's okay, because we're in the West, and it's hard to speak up. And people asked, in their jobs, they're having kind of issues with wearing kafiyas, etc., etc., and some of the Maulanas were saying, if you feel like your job is going to be impacted, then you don't need to speak out, and that's why taqiyya is created. And it's really difficult because now I'm finding that even kind of talking about these points with youths, it's very much like, well, this Maulana said that having hatred in our hearts is okay. So, we don't really need to talk about these issues. We don't need to start standing up. We don't need to wear kafiyas to work or speak out about Palestine in circles like this, because as long as we have a hatred, it's fine. And we have these issues in the centers I go to, my family, people I meet every single day, where it's like, they think it's absolutely fine to not resist or not speak out because they have speakers, and this is a multitude of speakers saying, as long as you just keep it in your heart, it's absolutely fine. So I don't know how to start addressing these
Okay,
issues.
a lot of these ulama know that hating something in your heart, which is the least of iman, is the most dangerous position that you can be after those people who support oppression. It's the most dangerous position you can be. A lot of them know this. Okay, they have a very interesting story about Nabi Saleh. Okay, and there was a community that had about 100,000 people. 60,000 of them were good people. Good people. With that iman in their heart, that minimum of iman in their heart. 60% of them were good people. 60,000 of them. 40,000 of them were evildoers. Allah tells Hazrat Saleh, I'm going to destroy all of them because they've been sinful. And Saleh responds to Allah and says, but only a minority of them. Okay? Only 40,000 of them are doing bad. Why are you going to destroy the whole community? Allah says, because they did not stop those people who were doing wrong. When these imams tell you, or these sheikhs tell you, that it's good to have that hatred in your heart and is enough, he's putting you in danger, because it's the least of iman. Even though you have that hatred in your heart, And that's all you can do. As a person with a higher level of iman, you will not be satisfied with this. You know? I mean, it's like us, in Kufa. And we are hearing that Imam Hussein is being killed. You know? And we say, that's terrible. I really hear that. I love that guy so much. But anyway, what do you got to eat? Right? When Imam Hussein is on that battlefield and he says, is there anyone to help me? You eating your kebab, loving Imam Hussein because he's my Imam, but doing nothing to help him, guess where you're going to be on the day of judgment? You will be among the ranks of the army of Omar Saad. That's where you're going to be. The other thing you must realize is this. When Imam Hussein was going towards Kufa, he met the poet Farazdak, and I'm sure you've heard it, right? Farazdak told him, their swords are with you, their swords are against you, but their hearts are with you. Or your hearts are with you and their swords are against you. Okay? Their hearts are with you. They like him, they love him, because this is my Imam. But these are the same people who refuse to rise up when he sent a Muslim to them. Okay? How did they turn out to be? They were the ones to kill Imam Hussein. Okay? They were the ones, they had the minimum of Iman in their heart. Okay? But they were the ones to kill Imam Hussein. So what these centers are doing is trying to reduce us because they are afraid to challenge the system. They are afraid. They are scared to challenge the system. The system is too big, too great. Okay? The guy at the end of that evolutionary tree is blonde. You understand? Okay? It came out.